Welcome to the Normal People Fitness Podcast. My name is Steve Marsden, and we're going to talk about getting fit, getting healthy, feeling good, while eating the things you want to eat and doing the things you want to do. Hello, pals, friends, chums, mates. It's Steve here. Another podcast time. Today, having an episode with one of the Steve Marsden Fitness OGs, original gangsters, for those of you who are not as hip-hop as I am. Yes, that's all of you. I'm the most hip-hop person that has ever lived. Yes. This is with Isla Bruce. Isla's awesome. She trains hard. She works hard. She eats hard, if that's the thing. But she talks why she joined my gym. She also talks about some of the restrictions on her diet that she's had to work through, and if you have an intolerance or you maybe find it a little bit hard to do diet because your diet is limited, she's got some really solid advice. Not only that, she's lovely. She deadlifts a lot, she squats a lot. Yeah, she's absolutely awesome. Bit stressed with her thesis for her research masters, and a big part of training for her has been the stress management side. But I really hope you like this episode with Miss Isla Bruce. And in my podcast studio, we have Isla Bruce. How you doing, Isla?
Hi, hello, how are you?
Oh my God, someone asked me how I am. That's like the first time. I'm good. You've obviously been raised well by Pam. Big shout out to Pam.
Yeah, big Pam and her jam.
Yeah. For those listening who don't necessarily know what we're on about, Isla's mum once made me some jam, and it was so good. I offered to go in business with her to create the Pam's Jam franchise, but unfortunately, due to creative differences, it didn't work out.
No.
All
about the raspberry.
All about the raspberries. No, excellent jam. Cool. So you are a member of Steve Marsden Fitness, my gym.
I am. A long-standing member.
I think you're actually, other than the people that I trained
prior
to opening the gym, you are, the longest standing member. Yeah, crazy.
Loyalty.
2 years?
Yeah.
Who bloody know?
Well, just under.
Coronavirus has completely smashed my sense of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time is like limitless at the minute. It just feels like it's one continual day that never ends.
Still feels like March. Yeah, and it's July. Good. For those who don't know who you are, what do you do all day, every day? What are you working on at the minute, Isla? Because this has consumed your life for a long time now, and this is your time to tell everyone why life's so hard.
Well, I started just before I started the gym. I started a master's, and it's a research master's, so it's a slightly different layout to a normal master's, as you might expect. I spend all day in a lab researching prostate cancer. So that was the main focus for me, or has been the main focus for me for the last 2 years almost. So I spent 1 year in the lab researching, and then since December sort of time, I've been writing my thesis, which is the completion of all that hard work that I've put in. So I'm trying to write that, and I have been writing that since December and I'm still writing it. Yes,
like everybody, it's been delayed due to coronavirus, due to circumstances out with your control, and many a time you've walked into the gym teary-eyed and ready to...
I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And that frustration hopefully has been helped by deadlifts and all things like that. You are not the typical person that we get, and we had a little chat before this, because you're in great shape, not just because of me, but you're in great shape. You have enjoyed exercise throughout your life. You've got a pretty good control of your diet, and I suppose that one of the things you hear a lot is, why do you need a personal trainer? So, very interestingly, why did you join Steve Marsden Fitness? What were you doing before it, and what was the point that you thought, I need a little bit of help?
So I suppose the time leading up to before I joined the gym, I had a really big year. I just graduated university. I had just left the job that I'd been at for all through university and the end of my high school career. So it was quite a big year and a lot of transition, a lot of change. And in that time, a lot of celebrating, a lot of partying, a lot of drinking alcohol, and not really taking care of myself in that period, because it was just like a let loose of all that hard work. So I didn't really have anybody to be accountable to. I had myself to be accountable to, and that wasn't enough. I went to the gym, but I went to the gym and aimlessly went from machine to machine to machine, and someone was on the machine. I didn't go to that machine that day. I couldn't be bothered waiting. I went to the gym because I thought I had to go to the gym, not because I really wanted to be there. And quite honestly, it was just probably a peer pressure thing, not in terms of because people around me all went to the gym, but it's an age of what I wanted to have a nice body or look a certain way. So I felt like I better try and go to the gym and do something about that. But it wasn't really productive.
Yeah, I suppose that there are many people who go to a commercial gym and they see a treadmill and they go, do you know what, I'm going to walk a little bit, and then they see the that machine where you sit on it and then you open your legs, and then the one where you close your legs, I call them good girl, bad girl. Yeah, I know. And then, go home, possibly stick something on Instagram, #motivation, #fitspo.
Yeah, took a wee boomerang. I was there, I made it, but did I really work that hard? Probably not.
Yeah, and the fact that you can admit that just shows that you have the right mindset in terms of taking responsibility for the journey, which is whenever anybody walks through my doors, they must take responsibility. How did you find us?
You were just starting out, so I guess I had seen it on Facebook, Instagram, that kind of thing. Social media was where you were sort of putting out that you were a new gym in Livingston, and I think at the time there was a couple of PTs about, but nothing that really suited me and my personal needs, so it wasn't really something I was like, do I need that? But when I saw it was like a small gym, it wasn't going to be just another large commercial gym kind of aspect, I sort of like drew me in.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to be a gym where commercial gyms, I think, fail people generally. I think their business models especially are based on having thousands and thousands of members that never use it. And I always thought that it's a minefield knowing what to do. You're very tiny compared to most people. Do you know what I mean? You 3.5 feet?
Yeah, just probably under. Under.
I had a 5'2", I think. 5'2"?
Yeah, 5'3".
Yeah, 5'3". So not every machine is meant for you to fit on it, and you have to adjust it and things, and people need help.
Yeah, I mean, commercial gyms are quite intimidating. They're not necessarily a place that you feel welcome in. I think it's, quite a daunting place if you don't want to ask for help, or if you don't feel you can ask for help, or you don't feel the people around you are very supportive. They're probably judging you or the way that you're acting in the gym. So, yeah, I think the aspect of it being small and a community sort of brought me in.
Yeah, good. Yeah, because you were one of the first people. We were still working out like how to do it, and I always knew that I wanted everybody who joined, even though we are a lot more expensive than your pure gyms. We wanted to make sure you got an amazing workout and you were shown how to do everything for you. And our eyes are on you at all times throughout the gym. How did you find? Do you remember your first session? I remember you walking in, standing in the corridor, and I was like, "Hi, who are you?"
Yeah, no, I do. I think first session again, it was a new experience for me. I'd never been in like a PT session. I'd never been in like a small group session where I just worked out with like a small amount of people either. I'd done classes before in terms of like at like commercial gyms where I'd do like body attack or like whatever.
It's always a very violent name, isn't it? Yeah, body maim. Fat strangle.
Yes, so like I'd done that, and but it was nothing like that. So I think coming in to a smaller environment, I don't know, it's quite welcoming. It maybe wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. Yeah,
that's the bit I wish more people knew, is that we try and make it just so action packed, but so friendly that you don't really realise that you're in a place that you've always hated.
Yeah, no, I think the workout, because it's tailored to you, you don't really realise how much time's going by before it's finished.
Yes.
And you've worked out and it's done. Whereas maybe if I was doing that in the gym myself, I'd be like, oh, this is taking forever, I don't want to do it anymore, or...
Yeah. So for those of you who have never experienced what we do, you come in, you are in a room with some other people who you do not know when you first start, but then you get to know. And what happens is we give each person an exercise to do. We show how to do it with them. We give a lot of personal attention, but we use a program called squat, push, pull, hip hinge. We do a bit of core and then a finisher. So by the time we get through all 5 units of those, the 50-minute session goes by very, very quickly. And because you always have a task to do, you're always focusing on that moment there. And hopefully it blocks out the world, but we also are able to train people individually while you being in a group. And I think we've slowly got the right mix of that, where you can have someone like Isla, who is an absolute machine, and my gran in the same session, although my gran's never come. And they can have a good workout. In terms of results, and I don't necessarily mean, Isla, are you shredded and ready to step on a bodybuilding stage?
Absolutely bloody not.
Yes, I know. I'm not. If you want that, I am not your man. I'm not your man. I will convince you to eat pizza, or dairy-free pizza, as Isla loves. But in terms of results, what have you done? What have you achieved? What are you proud of?
I think the biggest thing for me is I'm a lot more mentally aware of my physical well-being. Does that make sense? So I think it's not about the number on the scale anymore. It's about how do I look and how do I feel? And that's been a really big hurdle to overcome, because it's always been about, well, that number's a bit too high and I don't really like that number, so I need to lose weight. But in reality, it's about recognising what you're happy with in the mirror, and recognising that maybe that number doesn't match what makes you look good or makes you feel good. And that's been a really big thing for me. Also, just I was in a really high pressure place for the last sort of year and a half, so mentally being able to come and get all my frustrations, aggravations, things that, and be able to leave that at the door and forget about it for the whole rest of the evening or the day that I've come in to work out it's been really great. Like I've never been able to experience that when I went to the gym before. It was just like I had to go and get this done, and it was taking time out of my day, and it was frustrating me because that's time I needed to do something else. But it was time well spent.
Yeah, I call it the bubble, and we've got some lovely sort of lights, and I try and match the music to the people that are in the room. So if you're over 40, I always put my 80s playlist on. But if you're under 30, I put some weird trancey, techno-y stuff that I don't really understand. But hey, people like it. Yeah. And it's about just getting you out of your day and trying to create, the bubble that you walk into. You sweat and you get out of breath and you think, oh my God, this is so hard, but you forget how shit your life is, basically. Yeah,
pretty much. And I think as well, in doing so, you do lose weight or you do make your body better. It's just those things come second. They're not the top priority anymore. And I think that's been a really big learning thing for me, that it doesn't have to be the top priority anymore.
Yeah, it's cool. And don't get me wrong, that there are periods of the year where me and you talk and we go, right, I want to get a bit leaner because I've got a holiday. And then there's other periods of the year where I say, right, Isla, what do you want? And you're like, listen, I just want to keep doing my workouts. I don't really want any pressure with food because my thesis, or the little righty thing, as I have called it in the past by accident, and really pissed you off.
That really got me.
Yeah, the little righty thing, we sort of take the foot on and off the gas depending on what you need mentally, physically, and how hard we can push. And I think that, a lot of people come in focusing on the number, and we have tried to make every single bit of our gym about actually what's the whole picture look like. And have you found our scanner useful?
Yeah, I think the scanners, in the beginning, it's a little bit skeptical because it is just, I come away from that scale perspective on fitness, being able to put numbers on things or being bothered by numbers, but there's so much more depth to the scanner, and it gives you a whole picture of your whole body and where you need to work on. So I suppose being able to see the difference between your right and left leg.
Yeah.
And what I was doing technique-wise was affecting the muscle in my legs, or being able to flip that about and make sort of training decisions based on that. That's been quite helpful.
Yeah, the scanner, I don't think I've mentioned it on the podcast yet. We've got an eVolt 360 scanner. It measures body fat, visceral fat, how much muscle mass you've got, where you hold your muscle mass and your fat, and then the difference between your legs and or your arms, or how much muscle you've got, and if you're imbalanced. And we just use that information and we go, right, when you go into the gym, train your left leg first when you're doing lunges, because it's a little bit weaker than your right leg. And having that data there, I think, takes the emotion out of it. And I think a lot of women especially, and myself, but a lot of women especially, because they have had that sort of on and off, black or white emotional connection to their results, it just creates this nuance, and it's a lovely way of measuring things without you crying.
Yeah, I suppose when you see a number on the scale, you attribute that to your whole body. But when you see it broken down in numbers that are attributed to different parts of your body, you're able to see what that is made up of. And it's no longer a number on a scale that you don't like. It's different parts of things that you need to work on or not work on.
Yeah, and it is a lovely, nuanced way of looking at your body that I think that not many people have had access to. But good. In terms of exercises, are there any exercises you like, any you've seen improvements on that you're proud of?
I suppose I made big improvements in my weightlifting, so things like my squats and my deadlifts, they were coming on really good just before Rona. I think like myself, again, in the gym, I did lift weights, but I didn't lift weights effectively. I didn't lift weights properly. And I was worried about what people in the gym thought of me lifting weights. So it held me back in my progress until I came to Steve. I progressed quite quickly in terms of the weight that I was able to lift. I think that was really nice to see the figures go up gradually and sustainably. And I managed to keep that up. And it wasn't just that I was throwing weights about or whatever.
Yeah, it's about being smart with training, and when you have that outside view and someone looking at, firstly, form and technique, but also saying, actually, why don't we do this instead of this? Because X, Y, Z. I mean, your deadlifts you used to be very frustrated with, and slowly they started going up.
Yeah, I hated deadlifts. I just felt like they weren't, for me, I don't know, I felt like I didn't have the right body to lift it effectively. It's not really the case. It's just I wasn't really in the right mindset to get my form in a good place to lift the weight that I was wanting to lift. And that's come a lot better in the last sort of like 6 months, I would have said, before Rona.
Yes, pre-Rona. I reckon that in the history books there's going to be a whole pre-coronavirus section where the world changed. Yeah, I think... and just to clarify what Isla meant there about not having the right body to deadlift, before you think she's body shaming herself, like this new body shame. She's talking specifically there about biomechanics and the relationship between the length of, say, her femur and her arms, and different people have to deadlift differently. And it's one of the things where we might get someone who's super tall, who feels very, very awkward in a certain movement. We have to tweak that. And the things that we did to improve our deadlift numbers, that if you are struggling on a certain exercises, we added a lot of volume. Do you remember that workout where I made you do like
over 500 deadlifts or something?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
I mean, I think it was.
Oh God. Oh, I'm so harsh sometimes, aren't I? But it was literally, let's just nail form so many times that it becomes second nature, and then we'll start adding weight. We've played around with positions. We've played around with like variable resistance. We've added bands to the barbells and stuff. And sometimes we've just not done them to give you a break from being a little bit harsh on yourself and manage that psychological sort of outcome-based pressure. Yeah. One of the other things about you that you have struggled with, let's say, and that has opened my eyes and my mind and my knowledge is diet. Mm-hmm. Tell everyone why you are so hard to.
I struggle a little bit with IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, a little bit. It's not necessarily classified by the doctor, but it's pretty much has been something that's been ongoing and something that you're told to monitor yourself quite often. That they don't want to diagnose you specifically because there's hundreds of tests that need to be done, and frankly, it's not something that is that life-threatening. You just need to manage it yourself. So in that time, so it probably about a few years before I joined the gym, I had been having constant problems with my stomach, feeling quite full of indigestion and really bloated, and went to the doctor, and again they give you omeprazole and all these tablets for indigestion, but they don't really do anything, and that was fine. And then eventually my doctor said, you need to check FODMAPs, so foods that are sort of fermentable carbohydrates. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's FODMAPs. Google it if you're not sure, but basically it's the most random list of foods that you could be allergic to.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to have any connection. I think garlic and onions are the worst ones. But FODMAPs, the FODMAP diet is, it's, if you are allergic to FODMAPs, you're going to have a really hard time.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so anyway, long story short, I started to try and keep a food diary and work my way through some of these absolutely horrendous lists of foods and try and eliminate them one by one of what I thought I could be intolerant to. So it wasn't necessarily a straight up allergy that when I ate it, I came out in hives or anything like that. It's just a sort of a light reaction in your sort of bowel and things that doesn't agree with you. So random foods, avocados, bananas, garlic, onions,
clementines, I think, oranges, tomato, just random foods.
Yeah, and quite a few of them, they were things I ate really often and hadn't even thought about it. But the main thing that I was eating, and I wasn't even thinking about it, was dairy. And dairy was really, really not my friend. And I didn't really know, I wasn't even thinking about it. So many occasions I've been so unwell and never been able to understand why I was unwell. Until now, where I think, oh, that's because that had sour cream, it had cheese, it had, all these extra things that were dairy that poisoned me. So like nachos, guacamole. So I'm not good with avocado. They really hurt my tummy. So does cheese. So I had sour cream, I had cheese, and I had guacamole and chili. So it's spicy. All these things are just like terrible for me, but something I ate nearly every time I went out for food with friends.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to sacrifice eating those things because everyone else was having them. And it's one of those things you're like, no, but I really want this as a treat day for me.
Yeah. But you don't want to be that person that's like, oh, sorry guys, I'm intolerant.
Yeah.
Intolerant.
And I didn't know I was intolerant then. So only probably in the last 3 years, I've really, really focused on my diet, and I self-diagnosed myself as dairy intolerant. And that is just purely by cutting dairy out solidly for probably 4 months properly. And I saw huge differences in my stomach. It looked like I had air pumped into my stomach when I had eaten dairy after meals. So things like maybe just pasta but had cheese sprinkled on the top, or I was having a baked potato and it had baked beans and cheese on it, coleslaw that was cream or wasn't mayo, or things like that. So all these little things, but they were having them at dinner every single night. And then after dinner I'd have a cup of tea and a chocolate biscuit or a little bit of chocolate with my cuppa. So by the end of the night I was just a balloon. Ready to, if someone cut me off, I'd just float away. So yeah, I had to make really big changes.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult, and it's still really difficult. I often still treat myself to milk chocolate because I prefer milk chocolate to dark chocolate.
Well, I remember at Christmas, I think you put on Instagram a pack of cheese, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that was actually dairy-free cheese.
Ugh.
That I bought, and it's spine-tinglingly rotten. I just don't like dairy-free cheese. I'm sorry if you like dairy-free cheese, but I just don't think it's good.
Don't be sorry, they're freaks.
Yeah, it's just not the same. It's just not what you want. So then I had real cheese, and then I paid for it. And so I think when you find out you're intolerant to things, you have to be able to put your body first and identify what's really bad for you, but also being able to say, okay, well, I'm going to have that as a treat and know you're going to pay for it.
Self-harm.
Pretty much,
yeah,
through food.
Self-harm, but I get it. I mean, it's just, if you're intolerant and your body, you still like the taste.
Yeah,
you still
it doesn't
love
mean,
the taste.
yeah, like I suppose maybe if you were allergic, like if, you know, people are allergic to peanuts, it's life-threatening. You wouldn't eat them, but it's not life-threatening to me. I just get a really bad bloated stomach and I feel a bit sick, or sometimes I am sick, but I'm like, that's okay.
It's like, I mean, it's, I suppose it's still, it was bad enough for you to go to the doctors.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something you have to do. You have to make the decision that you know something's not right with your diet, and you have to make the decision, well, I need to do something about it, otherwise nothing's going to happen. And if it wasn't for going to the doctors, I wouldn't have identified the foods that trigger me. So, I mean, it's really worth doing. It's just whether or not you are the only person that can change your diet.
Yes, and quite
and
rarely...
stick to it.
Oh, absolutely. And quite rarely you've done this for a completely different reason than just losing weight. And yeah, it's so, I mean, I have a story that I tell, and I'm quite embarrassed by this story. So I used to tell people I was gluten intolerant. And this is where, on the flip side of this, it's a useful exercise. I used to tell people I was gluten intolerant because every time I had gluten, I would get really bloated. But after a while, I realised that actually I was having 4 pizzas and it must be the gluten.
No, you had 4 pizzas.
Yeah, exactly. and there is a little bit of critical thinking to be done with this. But if there's nothing wrong with self-diagnosing something, if you go through elimination diet, seeing what happens, and how do you feel now you manage this?
So much better. It's actually I didn't know I was carrying a weight before, and it wasn't a weight of a physical weight. It was weight that was mental, that I was feeling so rubbish when I went out for food with friends. When I came home, everyone was all happy, and then I'd go home and I just curl up in a ball and feel like rubbish because I'd eaten stuff that was just it was stupid. But I didn't think about it then. I didn't have the knowledge that I had now. So yeah, I think it's like a big weight, a relief that I go out and I make smart choices now, or if I'm not going to make a smart choice, I have already preempted that I'm not going to make a smart choice and that I know what to do. So
clear your schedule for stomach cramps on the couch.
Yeah, or make sure I drink loads of water, or, for the next few days, I'm absolutely going to avoid everything dairy or everything with this in it to make sure that, my stomach gets back to normal.
Good. And when you do manage it and you have, say, not had dairy for a while, does your body composition improve?
Yeah, definitely, because I'm not as bloated. I'm not as, I suppose it's one of those things that I feel flatter, more toned. I don't feel as ballooned as I would when I eat anything like dairy or foods that I'm slightly got an intolerance to. Yeah,
absolutely. I think a lot of people who may be thinking, oh, I might have that, I might do that, are going to find this very, very useful. If you were going to give somebody advice who had just discovered they might be intolerant to dairy or another food, what would you say to them?
I think research it first. Make sure that you are completely happy with your choice and start by just eliminating it little by little. Don't cut yourself off straight away. If you do it straight, cold turkey, you are really going to feel the effects of it badly on your mental health or in you, because you're going to be like, well, I want to eat that now because I can't have it. So take it slowly. Don't rush to just get rid of it. And then once you start to see the benefits of not having it in your diet, start to think of, is there alternatives for this food? And can I use things to replace these? So for me, chocolate, I love chocolate. I have chocolate all the time. It's my little treat or big treat. And now I have dark chocolate. And dark chocolate's not nearly as good, but it's a replacement for that sweet craving. So you have to have replacements for things in place before you start to get rid of it out of your diet. You have to have things in place. Otherwise, you're going to go the other way for something else. I think what I didn't realise is there's dairy in everything. So I would go to crisps, and then there's loads of dairy powder in crisp flavourings.
Crazy. I have seen those, is it kettle chips that are like cheese and onion? Cheese is the fake cheese, isn't it? Yeah.
But you do get ones with like, it's like salt and vinegar, but there's loads of dairy in it because
Mad.
the powder is like flavouring. So I think the main thing I would take away is just making sure that you've got alternatives for yourself. Take it slowly, and yeah, you'll see, once you see the improvements.
And feel the improvements.
Yeah, the main thing is you'll feel so much better.
Good. How do you navigate restaurants?
I check the menu before I go. If there's really nothing that I feel like I'm going to like, then maybe I'll suggest that I go somewhere different. But the main thing is just check. And if you're willing, like me, sometimes I'm willing, maybe the cheese content or the dairy content that's in the dish isn't going to be mega high. It's something I can live with. If you're really, really intolerant, don't do that to yourself. It's not worth it. But if it's all about individual preference and what you think's worth it for you. But yeah, check the menus. Yeah, and don't not go out because you have an intolerance. It's just something to learn to manage, and it's not like you just download a PDF and then you've got it. No,
it takes trial and error.
I mean, sometimes like there'll be weeks where I'm like, I need to stop eating that or stop picking at things that are dairy. It's really hard. Like my dad really likes cheese, so if we're having baked potatoes and cheese is something that I really like. Beans and cheese, like it's a good combination. Pizza, I love pizza. Something that I eat quite often if I was going out, but having that around you in your household can be really difficult, and it can be harder to make those decisions. And when the replacement cheese isn't really that great,
shite.
Yeah,
that's what cheese stands for. Shite cheese.
Shite cheese. Yeah.
Please don't sue me.
I get that.
I'm sure there's no representative of cheese listening, and if there is, I'm sorry. It's my opinion, not Isla's.
Well, I think kind of is my opinion because it is shite.
Yeah. Well, it's an alternative, and I think that I had Howard Reed on the podcast. He actually was misdiagnosed by a doctor as gluten intolerant, and when he started, there was no real alternatives to like bread and stuff. And hopefully in the future, it just gets better and better.
Yeah, I mean things are developing all the time, and you can definitely get really good like chocolate alternatives now that I get and I like, and I probably prefer to like some of the chocolate I was eating, and it's got less sugar and all this in it as well, so it is a win. But it's just willing to be able to look and find different alternatives. It takes time, and you just have to be able to put in the time.
Yeah, just like everything worthwhile. Everything. In terms of non-dairy free stuff, what else do you think has helped your fitness and health journey? So yeah, anything you can think of, and it doesn't necessarily have to be diet-based. It can just be anything that you think that you maybe overlooked before you joined us, that you found actually that is essential to me keeping tip-top.
Recovery. I think I was really good at continually working out prior to the gym. But maybe I wasn't good at giving myself like a deload or recovery, so that then the next time I wanted to push numbers or push my weights up a little bit, I had the capacity to do it because my body wasn't so tired. So I need rest days, and that's something that I think a lot of people need. And I think taking the pressure off myself in terms of you exercise for yourself, not for anybody else. So it has to be something that you enjoy, and if you're not enjoying it, take a step back and realise why you're not enjoying it, and then go back again once you're in a better mindset. Sometimes you just need to not exercise because there's too much going on in your life, and sometimes that's all you want to do. But I think getting the balance and understanding that is beneficial.
Yeah, like I alluded to earlier, the amount of times you've walked into the gym and you've just not. I was like, "How are you, Isla?" And you just shake your head at me.
I don't tend to not to say anything.
Yeah, and then, but then that's my responsibility to change what we were doing, because it might be either a bit too taxing, or it might be quite a critical thing we're doing. So let's say it is oh God, stabilizing your core on the squat that you've not been very good at, so we have to just drill it.
Yeah.
That might not be the time for that workout. The amount of times you've come in and I've just gone, do you know what, Isla? Let's just do a mindless, sweaty workout, and taking that pressure off is a massive thing.
Yeah, and being able to come in and have like a workout that's already designed, it's already set in stone, instead of having to go to a commercial gym where I then have to say, well, I want to do X, Y, and Z, but that depends on who's on what machines when, and how busy it is when I go into the gym, and how many people are there, and do I feel anxious because people are on those machines and I want to be on them. And that takes that whole side away. There's none of that. And I know that it's just going to be between sort of 4 to 8 people. And they're the only people that I'll have to see. They're people I like, they're people that I have built connections with, I speak to. So it takes all that out of it.
Yeah, I liken us to car mechanics. You could learn to fix your own car, but why don't you just
get someone else to
like help you do it? So it's taking that knowledge out of it, and you've got enough on your plate.
I think, I mean, I spend all day thinking about things. It's nice to have something that you don't have to think about, that you enjoy to do, but someone else has thought about it for you, and it's done. And it's,
exactly.
It compartmentalises that part of my day nicely. Yes,
good. One of the things that I am enjoying at the moment, and this is an afterthought, and Lacey mentioned the IKEA comment, is our little WhatsApp group, our diet group. So we started this WhatsApp group during the coronavirus to talk about just food and be like, right, guys, well,
rate my plate.
Basically rate my plate, except everyone does it in their own households in a bitchy way. I've loved how when everybody puts their food up, everything's becoming so much better presented. Carrie, your meal last night looked like it should be on a bistro magazine. Like, oh my God.
Yeah,
yes,
good.
It's good, but we try and support you outside of the gym as well, just to, I don't know.
I suppose we haven't really had contact, like none of us have had contact with each other outside of the gym. So, and like right now because of Rona, so we normally see each other week in, week out, and then nobody's seen each other. So it's quite nice to be able to like build those connections back up again just by rating each other's food.
Yeah.
Being like, that looks nice.
That looks nice.
What's that recipe?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. How have you found training online?
Yeah, good. At first it was really difficult because I had been at home writing my thesis already. So for me, being able to get out of the house and go to the gym, that was my escape. That was my only time that I really dedicated to leave the house. Apart from, I did things here and there, but really the only time I was leaving the house was to go to the gym. So when I then had to just leave my room and just move to another room in my house, it was difficult. It was difficult to be able to be like, I'm not getting anywhere. There's no release from this. I'm still in my house. I can still hear my dog barking. The washing machine's on. There was like a lot of things that I wasn't getting away from. But now I'm in a much better mindset with it. I'm able to, again, compartmentalise it. I go into the one room and everyone gets out and gives me my space, and that's my time to do my workout. And that again is the only time I've done anything other than my thesis for the last few months. So
yeah, you're in the black hole of prostate cancer, writing about it.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Right, Isla, that was awesome. Let's leave it there. What have you got planned in the future? Tell me some positive things you have to look forward to. It's going to be an awkward silence here because Isla's not great at having positive things.
No, I am. The most positive thing is in probably within the next 6 weeks, my thesis will be submitted and gone out my life.
What are we going to talk about?
Not prostate cancer.
No, your next thing. Where are you going on holiday, perhaps?
Well, the only thing that we had booked got cancelled, so I haven't rebooked anything, but we did book a lodge somewhere, so Glencoe, just a staycation.
A staycation, as Nicola Sturgeon keeps trying to make people do, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, I love Scotland, so...
You have the most Scottish name in the world. Isla Bruce.
Hi, could be true.
Yes, it's good. Right, Isla, thank you so much for coming on the show. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Normal People Fitness podcast. If you need any help, then give me a shout at www.stevemarsdenfitness.com. Have an amazing day and hopefully I'll see you soon.